Every fan loves seeing their favorite celebrities in a happy, fairy tale type relationship. And through the decades, there have been no shortage of such examples. From B&J, Kanye and Kim, before J-Lo and Ben or Whitney and Bobby, there were some major power couples in the 80s. Today we're going to take a look at some of our favorite celebrity couples as we count down the top 10 Hollywood couples that garnered the most media coverage. No more talk. Cue that intro. Before we get into it, I'm your boy AT. Don't forget to subscribe as well as we publish more videos on a consistent basis. Leave a rad comment and smash that like button. Okay, without any more delay. Our first couple of the countdown in the number 10 spot goes to two members of the Brat Pack. Two young teens with America's eyes all over them. Dating briefly in 1984, Michael Anthony Hall, who starred as the son Rusty in National Lampoon's Family Vacation, and the beautiful red-headed wonder Molly Ringwald, who made appearances on TV in Different Strokes and The Facts of Life, before starring in 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club with Anthony Michael Hall. They would meet on set of 16 Candles and later spark a relationship before wrapping up in between filming The Breakfast Club. A very cute young couple with a younger lifespan, therefore only claiming the starting slot in the countdown. Another duo from the Brat Pack. I promise, this is not a show onto the Brat Pack. But come on, if you know anything about the 80s, this group of talent was young, fun, and all over Hollywood. Demi Moore and Emilio Estevez both starred in the 1985 hit St. Elmo's Fire and began dating on and off for 2 years, even getting engaged in 1986 before calling it off in January of 1987. Emilio was just coming off the success of The Outsiders and was somewhat typecast with the bad boy roles. Both Demi and Emilio would also team up to film Wisdom together in '86, which I think caused them to drift apart as they begin to grow. I guess too much of a good thing isn't really a good thing, even if it's Demi or Emilio. The two would split with no hard feelings, with both having successful decades to follow. Emilio would date a few young Hollywood celebrities through the 80s before getting married to Paula Abdul in the early 90s. Unlike Emilio having multiple partners through the 80s, Demi did not date many, but we'll talk Demi more later in the list. At number 8, let's really turn back time to a Manhattan restaurant in '81. The Moonstruck star Cher was eating dinner, spotted and wanted to meet the Iceman, and sent over one of her girlfriends, rumored to be Meryl Streep, to bring him over to her table. Val said he spit the spaghetti out of his mouth when he heard who wanted to meet him. Val was a young 22-year-old actor fresh out of Hollywood professional school, and Cher was an entertainment vet, 13 years his senior when they started dating. They dated from 1982 to 1984. It was a passionate 2-year romance, and Cher was quoted as saying she felt like her head would shoot right off whenever she kissed Kilmer. Val would even move to Las Vegas and stay with Cher at the Caesars Palace during her residency while they dated. But Cher will quote years later that their relationship was just too intense and hot, end quote. Too intense to last. However, they remain friends to this day. In fact, Cher even moved into Val's home to help him recover after his throat cancer surgery. Our number 7 couple of the list was together for 13 years. They have 3 daughters together and was definitely one of, if not the, celebrity power couple of the 90s. Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, who was 24 at the time, began dating in August 1987 and got married in November of the same year. They were wed at an impromptu wedding during a trip to Las Vegas. That was a very intimate and small ceremony held in their suite at the Golden Nugget, with only close friends and assistants as witnesses in attendance. By the time of their marriage, Bruce Willis was already a leading TV man, starring in Moonlighting, and Demi was the movie pro, appearing in a few movies already. However, Bruce would blow up the following year with the release of Die Hard, practically casting him into the box office action man for the 90s movies. His success would also help Demi gain notoriety, and her acting skills would continue to net her even more roles in the 90s like G.I. Jane and A Few Good Men. After a very successful Hollywood marriage, The couple would split in June of 1998, and their divorce would be final in October of 2000. The split was amicable, and they would continue to co-parent their children together. They remained so close that recently during this pandemic, both Demi and Bruce quarantined together with their now adult children. Our number 6 couple were a match made somewhere far from heaven, but still very much in love during the relationship. Madonna and Sean Penn met while Penn was visiting her video set for Material Girl. They began dating shortly after that. Sean Penn was the notorious bad boy of Hollywood, and Madonna was that edgy, erotic artist who was not afraid to let the world know she was comfortable with her sexuality. It would almost seem like they both had a chip on their shoulder and wanted to prove to the world their normalcy. The two mid-20-year-olds would get married in August 1985. They had a star-studded, glitzy wedding with big names like Cher, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, and Diane Keaton in attendance. They would go on to star in Shanghai Surprise together, which would be the couple's only Hollywood pairing. Madonna was so much in love that she would name her album True Blue after Sean's favorite phrase, and the album was pretty much a love ballad of music to and about her and Sean. They would live in a Malibu home together valued at $6.5 million, but would rarely see much of each other due to their work schedules, which could have been one of the reasons for the breakup. However, in recent years, talks about abuse had surfaced as the possible reason for the breakup, but neither Sean nor Madonna have confirmed this. I personally think one of the songs from the True Blue album, Live to Tell, might actually give a more accurate reason for the breakup, but no one really knows besides Madonna and Mr. Penn. After divorcing in 1989, 21 years later, Sean Penn has been on record stating he is still in love with Madonna. But who isn't? At number 5, Tommy Lee and Heather Locklear were polar opposites. The Hollywood good girl and the rock world's bad boy, blonde and brunette, the tall Tommy and small Heather. This was one of the relationships the world enjoyed to see, mainly because how happy he looked, but watched upon with nail-biting anticipation because of Tommy Lee and his reputation. While at the height of his fame as the drummer of Motley Crue, Tommy saw Heather and asked to be introduced to her backstage at a REO Speedwagon concert. He admits to being super smitten over Heather when first seeing her. From there, everything in the relationship seemed to move at a fast pace. Just months before meeting Heather, Tommy was married to Elaine Bergen for 30 days. Heather and Tommy began dating July of '85 and were engaged very shortly before, marrying in the summer of '86. Heather was 24 and Tommy was 23. Heather was quoted as saying, "I've only thought of getting married once, and I plan for this one to last," in a statement to People magazine after their wedding. Unfortunately, it would not last longer than 8 years, as most fans and critics of the union were proven correct. They were divorced in 1983 due to Tommy having an affair. Come on, Tommy, you had Heather. Heather Locklear. Carrie Fisher and Paul Simon take the number 4 slot and winner of the most complicated celebrity relationship of the 80s. By the time they started dating, Carrie had already achieved fame as the bikini-wearing, strong-minded Princess Leia in Star Wars. But even before that, Carrie grew up around fame, rubbing shoulders and sitting on laps of Hollywood's elites, her parents being Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher. Paul Simon was a star in his own right, going solo after splitting up the duo Simon and Garfunkel in 1970. Carrie was 21, and Paul was 15 years older at 36 when they officially began dating in 1978. As cute and adorable as they were as a couple, with Carrie standing at 5'1" and Paul at 5'3", this relationship was definitely turbulent, explosive, and confusing. At one point, Dan Aykroyd got caught in the middle of it, as they would break up often and then get back together just as quickly. During one of their breakup moments, Carrie would get engaged to Aykroyd in '79, but later called it off and got back together with Paul. They dated off and on for 5 years before getting married in 1983. They both figured marriage would be easier than going through another heartbreak or splitting up. In fact, Carrie was so excited about marriage that on her honeymoon she told Paul, "Not only do I not like you, I don't like you personally," and this after having a fight on their honeymoon night. I mean, this was just meant to last, right? The marriage almost did last a full year, divorcing in 1984. It wasn't all bad though. Paul wrote 2 songs about Carrie, Hearts and Bones, and She Moves On, and even after the divorce, The two continued to date and get together until finally cutting it off in 1990. The number 3 couple belongs to Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet, my biased opinion for who I think should be the number 1. I just loved how cute they looked together. The Cosby Show star met the struggling unknown musician backstage at a New Edition concert in the mid-80s. Lenny and Lisa became friends, then roommates, before turning their relationship into something romantic in 1985. So why did the world love them so much? Well, both Lisa and Lenny thought that they were dating light versions of themselves. They both had that carefree and very artistic view in life towards everything they did, and in the 80s, that was what everyone wanted to be. Even though Lisa wasn't a professional musician, she fit in naturally with Lenny's friends in the music scene. 2 years after starting the romance, Lenny and Lisa married in November of 1987. The first 2 years of their marriage appeared to be a model fairy tale marriage, having their first and only child together on December 1st, 1988. The new trio would become very photogenic, now having many photos all over the internet of the new overjoyed parents and new infant Zoe. But again, not all good things are meant to last. The couple would begin to drift apart as Lenny's fame would grow. He would later admit that he didn't know how to handle his fame and their relationship suffered from it with his infidelity. They would separate from each other in 1991 and officially sign the divorce papers in 1993. However, it's not a completely tragic ending story. Lisa and Lenny are the pinnacle example of how divorced parents should act. They continue to co-parent Zoe together, and even now, after Lisa has remarried, Lenny is still a major part of the family circle. The number 2 couple belongs to the stereotypical perfect entertainment pairing of a rock star and a supermodel actress. Billy Joel and Christie Brinkley first hooked up in 1983 while Billy Joel was still seeing Al McPherson, allegedly. Billy has stated that the relationship with Elle just wouldn't last because of their height differential and major age difference. Christie was only 4 years younger than Billy Joel. Christie had gotten her major recognition by a slew of Sports Illustrated swimsuit model covers in the 70s, before making appearances in films like National Lampoon's Family Vacation. The piano man Billy Joel had also already achieved much fame and success, releasing over 8 albums before their love affair began. In 1985, the couple wed and had their only child together, daughter Alexa Ray, as a late Christmas gift that same year. They were truly an awesome 80s couple. Christie would do a lot of activist work and go the length to disprove the stereotype blonde supermodel, and Billy would defend his wife against any critics that tried to downplay Christie's intelligence at any opportunity in front of the media. Even though married with a child, they would still take spontaneous trips and book those stays under the pseudonyms of Rocky and Sandy Shores. A typical 80s thing. The love they have for each other will forever be held in memory, as Billy dedicated the complete album An Innocent Man to his then wife. There were rumors of infidelity. However, Billy has denied that vehemently, stating that his excessive work schedule caused a rift in the relationship, forcing the divorce in 1994. Let me take a break and thank you guys for sticking around to watch the whole list. Who do you think is the number 1 couple? Did you see any of your favorite couples from that decade so far? Leave it in the comments. So before we get to the number 1 celebrity couple of the 80s, let's take a look at a few couples who just missed the cut, in no particular order. Prince and Kim Basinger, Matthew Broderick and Jennifer Grey, Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder, Drew Barrymore and Corey Feldman. Our number 1 couple of the 80s goes to the mother and stepfather of Kate Hudson. Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell have been together for over an amazing 37 years. The exemplary example of a great Hollywood relationship. Goldie and Kurt first met back in 1966 on Disney's The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band. They began dating after reconnecting to make the '84 release Swing Ship. The relationship kicked off after Kurt's cheesy pickup line, "Man, you've got a great figure." I guess when you're a Hollywood actor that looks like he does, you can pull that off. A line he and Goldie both laugh about now. The couple spent their first date breaking into a home Goldie owned, and then after being interrupted by the police, they moved that date to a hotel that they spent the night together in. They have lived together ever since. They had their only child together, Wyatt, in 1986. One of the things I love is the way Kurt helped raise Goldie's kids from a previous relationship, which included Kate. Their final movie together in the 80s, and one of my favorite, was Overboard, released in 1987. Their on-screen humor and chemistry transformed over to their real life, which is some of the things they attributed their long-lasting relationship to. Just like any relationship, they have been through some turbulent times, but their love and devotion has always kept them together. Never officially marrying, Goldie stated in a 2019 interview with the Oprah magazine, "I already feel devoted, and isn't that what marriage is supposed to do? So as long as my emotional state is in a state of devotion, honesty, caring, and loving, then we're fine. And after 37 years of counting, they have to be doing something right, right?" So, did you enjoy the countdown? Did you agree with the list? If not, what would you change? Any couples we left off? Leave it all in the comments. Want to check out another top 10 video? Click here on the left, or check out our latest video here on the right. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.